You ever have one of those moments where your brain just doesn't want to shut off? You go to bed at a reasonable hour after knocking out everything in your day and you're thinking, I'm going to have me a good night's sleep and I'm going to wake up refreshed. That didn't happen to me for this episode. I wrote this script last Wednesday at around 5:30 in the morning. My brain just did not want to shut up. It just kept talking. And I think it came down to the fact that everything I wanted to put fingers to keyboard for just wasn't collecting like I wanted it to. And there I was, much to my chagrin, wide awake. I do have to offer, though, no small dose of thank you and blame to my dear friend Gray for inspiring the topic for today's episode. I open up Snapchat to find a can of Monster called Viking Berry. And while I usually want to stay away from Juice Monster, let's face it, that regular black and green battery acid shit's usually what I need. I found myself buying a can of it, and whether it was out of pure morbid curiosity or the genuine need to validate the fact that I'm probably a masochist, I bought it. I opened it, and in the immortal words of Keith Lee, I was going to rate it 1 through 10, and the first thing I smelled was a cranberry bog. The smell of floating cranberries and grass. And the moment I put that can to my lips, the realization hit me. The drink tasted pillaged. It was like I was smelling ocean spray cranberry sauce through a high-pressure air compressor. The drink had no flavor. It was barely carbonated. It was like the can was the Soviet Union and my tongue was a country about to be convinced to join the USSR. In short, the drink tasted colonized. And Monster, if I could offer you one piece of advice, because the Viking aesthetic is still super duper trendy, don't call it Viking Berry. Call it Plague and Punch. Recall your cans, relabel them. You'll thank me later. I was told at one point that inspiration will come from the strangest places, and I think my tongue being subjected to war crimes was one such source. I started thinking about how I hadn't entered into ritual, left offerings, prayed, and how for a brief second, I felt like shit about it. What's going on, you beautiful freaking heathens? Welcome back to I Am Heathen and So Can You. I'm your host, Z-list celebrity and world's pudgiest fitness influencer, Einar. Today's episode is something that hits home for a lot of pagans of every stripe. I've been trying to be a good deal more in tune with my spirituality, and I realized I've been nothing but a hypocrite. I've been feeling badly about not entering into ritual and speaking with my gods, when in the past I've said ritual is very much a quality over quantity thing. The gods could give a fuck less about how frequently or infrequently you enter into ritual. Ain't a damn thing in our lore that says we need to enter ritual on certain days of the week. And while I can't speak for other pagans, by the by, I would love for my pagan pals out there to comment their feelings on this episode when it goes up. For me, that feeling of disconnect started to fester from the fact that when I first got onto the path, I scheduled time to enter ritual. I scheduled time to sit with my gods and meditate. I know there are a lot of folks out there who have a sense of guilt because occasionally the specter of our Abrahamic past rears its sanctimonious ass head. These feelings came to a head for me today when I had one of my I'm a freaking moron moments. Because no matter what I do, I'm always connected to my faith, in one way or another. I sat there for a few minutes thinking to myself. I had to ask the question, how do I fix my own feelings of disconnection? How do I bring myself back to center when I get the feeling hey, you're a bad pagan because you haven't done XYZ. If I'm going to continue to talk about how I pagan, I think it's super important to share how I fix my own feelings of disconnection. Let's face it, I think it goes without saying that ritual doesn't have to be grand. No grandiose ceremonies need to be held every single day. If you want to select a day or two once a week to sit before your altar, leave offerings, talk to your gods and your ancestors, go for it. All the power to you. I won't be here to be that, well, actually, guy to piss and bitch about the potential historical inaccuracies of having an altar. In my case, I honestly think I began to feel bad, and that spilled into feelings of disconnection because it was part of my routine to pray and meditate regularly, and I'll admit, it's something I want to get back into. But don't let that get you down to the point you're saying, Odin's gonna kick my ass for not pouring one out for him. Start small. Keep that feeling of connection and realize that it has to start from a small place. Pick a simple gesture and go there. For me, it's the fact that my Mjolnir is always around my neck. An oath ring is always on my wrist. Two things to constantly remind me of the faith that called me home. A simple gesture could be anything from cleaning and organizing your altar space. I reconfigure mine once every few months to just kicking back and bumping Heilung or Wardruna. And by the way, I'm seeing Wardruna in September. For me, simplicity is the very basis of establishing that connection. But simplicity will also make sure that connection is sustained. If you're all about Norse-flavored trappings in your ritual space, all the power to you, and deck yourself out. You don't need a stick with a skull attached. You don't need luxurious robes inscribed with runes. You're a person, actual and whole, here on Midgard. Chances are, you're not trying to live like your Norse Lady Gaga with a dress made of lutefisk. I imagine that a dress made of lutefisk might smell like low tide and Jack the Ripper victims, but I digress. Simplicity. It is simplicity that will inevitably take you an extremely long way. Another point that a lot of people who are in the mindset of connection means sitting at my altar that doesn't really resonate with them is the idea that actions, the things you do, can be dedicated to an ancestor, a deity, or even the spirits of the land. And through that devotional act and offering, you can foster that connection either before or even during those feelings of disconnection from your faith. For me, we're going to get a little real here. I was diagnosed with endocarditis back in December of 2024, and I almost died from a septic blood infection. A lot of the conversation went towards my weight, and I knew from that point something had to be done about it. I returned to my altar and made the choice right then and there to dedicate my love of hiking and my soon-to-be budding gym addiction to Thorin Uller. I'd only been in the hospital for just shy of 2 weeks, and my own abilities to feel connected were so minimal. I didn't have my Mjolnir. That familiar heaviness on my wrist where an oath ring wasn't there either. And it left a feeling that I can only describe as a festering hurt that was only made better by returning home and putting on what made me feel connected to begin with. I think it's super important to examine where feelings of disconnect begin and nip them in the bud before they fester into either a crisis of faith or the loss of it completely. I was born spiritually and ethnically Jewish. I grew up in a predominantly Irish Catholic neighborhood, so 8 or 9 days out of the year, I was exposed to how Judaism intermingled with everyday life. And the rest was Irish Catholic spirituality intermingling with life. Now, I can definitely recognize, even before I embraced spirituality, the beauty and the damage that Christianity and Catholicism can have on people. And to those of you who have embraced the Norse gods in search of your truth, because of those reasons, you have a safe space here. If it was the church that drove you away from your beliefs to seek out your truth, you're welcome here. I find myself superbly lucky that I don't have degrees of deeply ingrained religious trauma. I've had a couple of instances where Christians have been shitty to me. I've had instances where priests have been shitty to me. But it never really stuck, and it served as a powerful lesson. I think that this experience has made me a better listener for people going through their own crises of faith. And I think, honestly, that's what inspired this show on the whole. Take this from somebody who's seen a myriad of teachers with enough goofy, shitty, problematic views on being faithful to make you want to put the Mjolnir and the mead down and go for a long walk. If somebody tells you that the gods demand your devotion, if somebody tells you that the gods demand your respect, if somebody tells you that a Mjolnir or an oath ring is earned, not only are they full of shit, understand that on a deeper level, these Viking-themed mouthpieces haven't done any degree of work to shed their own Abrahamic bullshit. And they do nothing but bring down people seeking their own truths about faith. If I could teach anybody anything about feeling connected to their gods, their ancestors, and the spirits of this land and sea, let it be this. Give what you can, when you can. The gods and your ancestors know your heart and know what you're capable of. I very firmly believe that a healthy disconnect is acceptable, so long as that disconnect isn't permanent. Now, I've met plenty of lip service Jews, Catholics, and Christians. I've never met a single lip service pagan. Just remember that feeling disconnected is okay. It's okay to walk away for a while. But when that call home goes out, answer it. It'll be like that warm hug you didn't know you needed. That, my dear heathens, is all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed another dose of my ranting. Tune in every week on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, you can check us out at Blackthorn Podcast Network or I Am Heathen POD on all your favorite social media platforms. We'll be preparing the rollout for some more of our scheduled content starting in August, and I am so excited to report we will be having guests on the show as well. For everybody here at I Am Heathen, for everybody at the Blackthorn Podcast Network, we couldn't do any of this without you. With that said, raise your glass, and if you don't have one, get one and raise it up. Hail the gods, hail the ancestors, hail the spirits, hail the folk, and most importantly, hail yourselves. This has been a Blackthorn production.